Hello, my name is Lars Jensen, and this is my oral report for my research paper I did for the English 2020 class. My original plan was to study the reasons that alternative fuel vehicles were not in a wide use today. Now, the fuels I first planned to study were things such as ethanol, natural gas, propane, and hydrogen. I found that this would be far too wide a scope to undertake in one research paper. So I decided that I should split it up, and I decided to just study hydrogen and the issues related with that. So I found that one of the major issues that surrounds hydrogen is the storage of it. Now, hydrogen can be used to power our vehicles in different ways. First, being in a gaseous form, whether it be used in a vehicle that's electrically driven, but the electricity is generated through hydrogen and its reverse electrolysis, or in a gaseous state where the hydrogen is being burned in an internal combustion engine. Either way, the difficulty with hydrogen being in a gaseous state is that the hydrogen is such a voluminous gas that it's difficult to store in a tank and still have the longevity of, say, a gasoline engine, because to have a sufficient amount of hydrogen stored in a vehicle, you would have to have a very large tank, and of course that creates space issues and weight issues also. A second way that hydrogen can be stored is through what is called a crystal metal hydride. Now, a hydride is a metal that absorbs hydrogen and will later release the hydrogen at a specific temperature and pressure. Now, this is an interesting form because you don't have to have a large tank, but there's still a weight issue because the metal is in a crystalline form. It's granulated, so it's rather heavy, and it is expensive. Hydrogen can also be stored in a liquid state. This is the form that NASA uses to power the rockets going into space. Of course, that's not a legitimate form for the automotive industry, but it is still interesting. One more issue that hydrogen has is the production of it. Right now, hydrogen is a relatively expensive gas to buy because it isn't produced currently on a large scale. There isn't a large quantity of it being produced commercially at the moment. What I found is that the cost right now could be mitigated through increased production, just as with any other consumer product on the market. But after you produce it, there is still the difficulty of the infrastructure. Right now, gasoline and even natural gas and propane has an infrastructure that supports the widespread use of it. There's tanker trucks and refineries all over the country. Now hydrogen, on the other hand, since it isn't a widely used fuel for the automotive industry, would require the building of an infrastructure similar to that of propane and natural gas. If it were to be used in a gaseous state, it would have to have a pipeline specifically for hydrogen, otherwise you'd have contamination and it wouldn't be effective. Now, alongside that, you would have to have a set up filling station all over the country wherever a hydrogen fueled vehicle was present. Otherwise, the consumer, of course, would not buy it, since there is no fuel available for it in that area. So the infrastructure is one of the large reasons, but what it all seems to boil down to is the cost of the hydrogen. Now, I found a report, or rather a a program that the government had tried to set forth called the Freedom Car Initiative, where the government mandated any private organization to create a hydrogen-powered vehicle, and what it all boiled down to was that the cost per energy unit of hydrogen was far higher than any of the currently used automotive fuels. Now this is rather difficult because hydrogen is on the forefront of the alternative fuel industry because it's clean burning, it's everywhere, and it's wonderful to use. So, in conclusion, the cost, it seems, is the most negative issue that hydrogen faces. Of course, at any given time when a new technology arises, it's expensive. It seems that if hydrogen were to be reduced in cost and the production of hydrogen, whether in a gaseous state or whatever, was to be increased, that it would become a plausible, usable energy for the automotive industry. So, that concludes my oral report for my research paper. Thank you.